No, no, not the frog. Listen. You hear that? That's what I'm hearing. Hear it?
Sounds like it's come from the barn.
It wasn't because the ratings collapsed overnight. It wasn't because audiences got tired of cowboys. And it definitely wasn't because the Western era had ended. No, the real reason NBC canceled Bonanza, one of the longest-running and most beloved shows in television history, was something far more personal and tragic. For 14 years, Bonanza defined American television. Every Sunday night, millions of families tuned in to visit the Cartwrights. Ben, Adam, Hoss, and Little Joe. As they navigated life on the Ponderosa Ranch, it wasn't just another Western. It was moral, emotional, and surprisingly modern. It was a show about family, justice, and decency, set against the raw backdrop of frontier America. But behind the scenes, the world of Bonanza wasn't nearly as peaceful. In fact, the very values that made the show special would ultimately lead to its downfall. In 1959, NBC took a massive risk. Westerns dominated television, but none looked like Bonanza. Shot entirely in color, at a time when most homes still had black and white sets, it was the network's bold bet to push color TVs into American living rooms, and it worked. By 1964, Bonanza wasn't just a hit, it was the hit. #1 in the Nielsen ratings for years. Michael Landon became a household name, Lorne Greene the father figure America wished they had, and Dan Blocker, gentle giant Hoss, became the beating heart of the show. But as the ratings climbed, so did the pressure. NBC wanted more episodes, more storylines, and more of what worked. Yet inside the cast, tensions quietly grew. Pernell Roberts, who played Adam Cartwright, was restless. He hated the show's formula, calling it shallow and repetitive. He wanted to tackle social issues, complex morality, and realism, not just cowboy adventures. In 1965, after 6 seasons, Roberts walked away from Bonanza at the height of its success. For fans, it was shocking. But for the crew, it was just the first crack in a show that looked unbreakable. Still, the Cartwrights rode on, and for a while, it seemed nothing could stop them. Ratings stayed strong, and the show became a Sunday night ritual. Then came 1972, and with it, a tragedy no one could have predicted. Dan Blocker, Hoss Cartwright, suddenly died of a pulmonary embolism following gallbladder surgery. He was only 43 years old. The news hit like a thunderbolt. Blocker wasn't just another actor. He was Bonanza. He was the warmth, the laughter, the heart of the Ponderosa. Fans loved him. Cast members adored him. And the show quite literally revolved around him. When word reached NBC executives, they faced an impossible decision: continue without Hoss or end the show entirely. Against their better judgment, they pushed forward. They believed Bonanza could survive on its legacy alone. But the soul of the show was gone. The first episode of the new season, the first without Hoss, opened to curiosity but quickly turned to heartbreak. Viewers couldn't ignore the empty space he left behind. The chemistry felt off. Even Michael Landon later admitted that something in the cast's spirit had died that day. And viewers felt it too. Within weeks, ratings plummeted. The once unshakable Sunday night giant was suddenly struggling to stay in the top 20. NBC panicked. They changed time slots, moving Bonanza from its traditional Sunday night to Tuesday. It seemed like a small adjustment, but it was catastrophic. Sunday night had been Bonanza's home for over a decade. Families built their weekend routines around it. On Tuesdays, it was competing against new audiences, younger shows, and a shifting TV landscape that was moving away from Westerns. By early 1973, the writing was on the wall. The 14th season would be its last. But here's the truth most people never heard. NBC didn't cancel Bonanza simply because of low ratings or changing tastes. They canceled it because it had lost its identity. The show that once represented strength, morality, and family unity, the very core of American values, had been quietly hollowed out by tragedy. Michael Landon later said that without Dan Blocker, the show just wasn't Bonanza anymore. It wasn't about the frontier anymore. It was about a family that had lost its heart. When the final episode aired on January 16, 1973, there was no big send-off, no epic conclusion, just a quiet, unceremonious goodbye. For a show that once dominated the airwaves, its ending was almost whispered. Yet even in that silence, Bonanza left a legacy that shaped television forever. It inspired Little House on the Prairie, The Waltons, and countless family dramas that followed. It proved a TV Western could be about more than shootouts. It could be about love, loss, and what it means to be human. Today, when you watch those wide shots of the Ponderosa, the mountains, the horses, the firelight, you're not just watching a piece of television history. You're watching a time when storytelling was simple, sincere, and heartfelt. And maybe that's why Bonanza still matters. Not because of the guns or the gallops, but because it dared to show that even in the Wild West, family came first. NBC may have canceled Bonanza on paper, but the truth? You can't cancel what it meant. Because for millions of fans, the Ponderosa will always ride on.